So, did you know that goat luck and sheep luck are different? Hello, friend. Thank you for coming back. It's the 4th of February. It's Friday. Happy Friday. And you came back. I'm so grateful. Thank you. And I am dedicating the next 4 Fridays to the memory of my mother who went home to be with the Lord recently. Still difficult to say, but I'm saying that. And I invited you to come because I said I would be sharing some lessons, that it would be therapeutic for me and hopefully inspirational for you. So I am so grateful that you listened and that you came back. Thank you for your words of encouragement. Thank you. And thank you for those of you who left comments. Thank you for your prayers. I need to ask you to please invite and bring a friend. I appreciate you for listening, and I appreciate those of you who watch. Thank you. Remember, if you haven't already done so and you listen, subscribe please, and leave a comment. I'm sharing lessons learned from my mother. Please feel free, I invite you to leave a comment about lessons that you learned from your mother. It could be a sentence or more, and then I'll share it. And if you want me to, I'll say your name too. Let's have an ongoing conversation and let's encourage one another. That's part of what Life and Faith Chats is all about. Where are you? This is Life and Faith Chats. I am your host. My name is Joy, and I am grateful that you're here. Let's get into our podcast for today. You can see before me a puzzle which I am playing around with. I'm actually looking at it sideways. This puzzle was completed by my mother, and then I took it apart, put in my suitcase and broke it up and started working on it. So like therapy, but I'm learning lessons, and that's what I'm about to share. You have no idea at all what it took to do this shot. I was actually out of breath before I started. Why? Because I was working on the lighting, I was working on the wiring, and I wanted to be at the right angle, which was really difficult for you to be able to see the puzzle. I'm hoping you can see it, but it took me even going under the table. That was not fun. I did get to see another angle of the puzzle because it's a glass table. Interesting perspective. But let's come to what I said at the very beginning. I said goat luck and sheep luck are different. Now, unless you are a Liberian, you have no idea what I just said. Or maybe you do. Let me say it slower and clearer. And this is our lesson for today that I'm sharing from lessons learned from my mother. So my mother said her mother used to tell her this. And the lesson was that, listen carefully, goat, like a billy goat, luck, and sheep luck are different. And you're like, what in the world is she talking about? I used to say that to my students, elementary and middle school students. And the elementary students would look at me, and then I would explain. And my middle school students, they had to come back because that's what middle school students do. And they would say, Ms. Eckert, what in the world are you talking about? After all, this is not Africa. And what are you talking about, a goat and a sheep? Does anyone know what she's talking about? And then I would explain it to them. And they would get it just like my elementary school students. And I would hear them using it on their friends. Sometimes I would hear them saying it in the gym, in the cafeteria, in the hallways. And then they will use it on their teachers too in different circumstances. And teachers would come and say, what were they talking about? Some goat and a sheep. So let me explain. Do I know the biological differences between a goat and a sheep? I do not. I have never tried to find out, and I don't intend to now. If you choose to, you may Google it. You may look at Wikipedia, and you can share it in the comments. But the intent, the big picture was this. My mother was telling me that Don't ever compare yourself to someone else. Don't ever base your life on your choices about life and what you do and don't do on that of someone else's. I'm sure your mom or dad or someone who loves you may have shared the same lesson with you in a different way rather than using the goat and sheep. But the thing is that we all have a specific purpose, and there are lessons that we learn that's assigned to our purpose. You cannot go and do something someone else did and expect to get the same results because they're different. They're different. You may or you may not. And it will be disappointing to you if what happens to them does not happen to you. And this can be for the good or for the bad. For example, if you run a traffic sign and you're not supposed to, you might be caught, you might not. Just because Sally got away doesn't mean you will get away. And that's the truth about everything in life. Some people eat badly their entire life and they live healthy. Some people do, they have health challenges because we're different. And the connection with this puzzle is every piece has been designed by the person who designed this puzzle. Call them the creator. Every piece has a specific place and spot to make sense. If I try to force this piece into a part of this puzzle that it was not created and cut out for, I can force it there, but then the picture won't make sense. And if the piece could talk, it would say, I don't belong here, because that's not how it was designed. Now, there is usually a box that the puzzle comes out of. I don't happen to have it. And you see the big picture and you're supposed to follow that pattern. There is a master plan for each of us. We can wing it. Not a good idea. We all try that. I know I have. We can kind of see where we fit by the design, or we can follow the master pattern. And if we follow the pattern or the picture and we find our spot, when we fit, it makes sense. Master plan, the Bible. Finding out from God, the Creator, where do we fit? How does this make sense? There are always consequences for our actions, good or bad. And it is dangerous for us to live thinking that we can look at someone else and say, well, they got away with it, or this is what they did to do this. We can learn, but we cannot base our lives on someone else's. And more than anything else, especially when we say, well, they did this, how come this? It usually leaves us to being bitter. And that was not God's plan for us. In fact, I'm not going to quote that scripture, but I think he told some disciples who were asking, he said, basically, he told them, if I decide to do this with this disciple, what does that have to do with you? That is the fancy, godly interpretation of goat luck and sheep luck. They're different. Lesson learned from our mother. Inspiring, right? Remember, you are uniquely fit to be fitted in a specific spot, a specific area where God has designed you to function. And do you know that there is an empty, vacant spot in that area if you're not fulfilling it, because no other piece fits there correctly? So if you can see this puzzle, and I hope you can, and if you can see this off by itself, because it's part of this puzzle, If I remove this piece, this thing was glued together by my mother. If I remove this piece, I can tell you that it has no value and meaning except for to the maker and the other pieces of this puzzle. But when I put it and fit it where it belongs, it helps to put that whole puzzle together, and it makes sense to holding the other parts together in the picture. Let's check the scripture out. And the scripture for this is Ephesians 4:16. I'm reading from the NIV, New International Version. From him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. Let me say it slowly. Goat luck and sheep luck are different. In my Liberian vernacular, goat luck and sheep luck are different. Do your part by connecting with your Creator and checking to find out where you belong so you can do your specific purpose and plan. Thank you for joining me again on Life and Faith Chats. I'm not going to lie to you. This whole thing is challenging for me, but by God's grace, I'm going to push through. Remember to leave comments. I welcome them. Remember to like. Please subscribe. Bring a friend. There will be another video by God's grace next Friday. All my best to you. Find your spot, fit in there, and do what the Creator designed you to do, to His honor and glory. Thank you and peace.